anything except Las Vegas. All right, Las Vegas was taken over by the corporation. I personally, I don't like Las Vegas nowadays. People love it because they don't know what it was back in the old days. But I started going there in the late 60s. I never paid for a drink. I never paid for a meal. I never paid for a room. I never paid to see a show. And when you walked in the casino, first worker and that employee and that casino saw you. Hey, Ori, how you doing? Great to see you. They knew everybody's name. They took care of the people. Gambling was the number one revenue. But corporation take it over. Gambling is no longer the number one revenue. Hotel rooms are. Can't get comped like you did back in those days.
You got a question from...
Yeah, it was so much fun. You dressed up. It was a classy thing to go to the casino. Everybody was dressed. You didn't see no children. Today it's just a vacation spot for families. They go there.
You've got a question from Hamamoto. Did you know Mickey Cohen? My father took me to meet him at his Beverly Hills home.
Really? No, I did not know Mickey. But I did go to his home and I did do a story about Mickey. Okay, Mickey was a really tough guy, had a lot of control here in Los Angeles. You know, him and Bugsy, Benjamin Siegel. All right. They were two Jewish guys, had a lot of control with the syndicate. That was a syndicate now. Okay. That was not the mafia. You got to understand the difference between the syndicate and the mafia. It's a big difference.
All right. And for the viewers then, I see Professor Hamamoto, I've sent you an email. Viewers, would you like Hamamoto to come on to talk about the Grammys? Put one in the chat and we will endeavor to do that. So Natalie has got a question for you. What do you know about Marilyn Monroe and her death?
What do I know about it? Well, I had nothing to do with it. Let me get that out there first. Okay. I believe that she was murdered, given an overdose. All right. And there's been a lot of stories about it, and this and that, and who actually did it, they're never going to know. So it's just going to become like Jimmy Alpha, a conspiracy theory. JFK, will we know when our government's going to come out finally with the paperwork on JFK? Are they going to be telling us the truth in there? Are those papers going to be redacted? There's a lot to that story. Okay. Who was at the grassy knoll? I seen pictures many years ago about two gentlemen at that grassy knoll. Johnny Roselli and Jimmy Fratiano were there. That's what I was told. I saw a picture of them there. A friend of mine had that. That has to be 40 years ago. I saw that. The Kennedys, powerful family. Old man Kennedy made a lot of money. Dealt a lot with Frank Costello. He ended up being able to take that there, going legitimately. I forget what liquor company that the whole family still gets a percentage of every bottle that comes over. There's no question that it was the mob that got Kennedy in as president. No question about that there. Nobody's ever disputing that. But old man Kennedy made his son Jack put his brother Bobby in as the head of the Department of Justice. And the first thing he did was go after the very same people to put him in office. So, what's the truth? What's not the truth? Nobody's alive to tell you. You hear different people telling you different things. Okay? I've heard different things. I was in a room with some of those names that I mentioned previously. Uh, sometimes in life, you got to be careful who you cross because you never know who you're crossing. It might be the quietest guy, but it might be that quiet guy that's going to do the most damage. So you don't know.
Very, very wise words. Do you think that the CIA contracted the mob with JFK?
The CIA is involved, absolutely. I believe it was the CIA that put Johnny Roselli, in that barrel down in Miami. All right, that killed him. Johnny Roselli, he was very powerful individual, very smart, well liked in Hollywood, had a lot, he was a powerhouse out here in Las Vegas, okay? And people don't realize how close he was to Howard Hughes. Now, back in the day, Howard Hughes was who Elon Musk is today, I guess, okay? Howard Hughes was, I remember back in the day, were only 3 billionaires in the world, and Howard Hughes was one of them. Okay, but when he went into Vegas and started buying hotels, he couldn't just buy them like that. All right, Jimmy Roselli arranged it with. Boy, I'm going blank on the name. The guy that was with a former CIA guy that was with Howard Hughes. His name would come to me. Forgive me, folks. I am 80 years old. I do have a senior moment once in a while, not like Joe Biden, but uh, I can't remember his name. But then again, so that same CIA agent is when they wanted to get rid of Castro and how all that began. It all works and ties in together. Okay, I happen to know that the CIA they use guys like myself and others for certain things when they wanted something and needed something done. Okay, it's not like they did it once; they did it many times. Okay, they're very smart back in those days, anyways. I don't know how they are today. I stay away from that there. Uh,
Keith wants to know if you knew Jack Ruby.
no, I did not know Jack Ruby, but there's another name. Jack Ruby was very well mob connected. Okay, so it was no accident. Okay, there's no accident that Ruby was at the jailhouse that day and killed the guy that they think shot Kennedy.
Oswald. So Chantel, have you watched Oliver
Oliver
Stone's
Stone,
movie JFK?
JFK, accurate. I can't even remember it. I did see it. I happen to know Oliver, nice guy. Uh, I can't really talk about that, whether it's accurate. Oliver does a good job and he does great research. So I'm going to assume it's fairly accurate.
Were you ever close to Frank Sinatra, and did he have a few people whacked?
I was close to Frank Sinatra, and Frank never had nobody whacked.
Any Sinatra stories?
Oh, I tell the same story all the time. Everybody's heard them. I used to meet first how I met Frank was through Jimmy Cacci because Jimmy Cacci and guys down Jimmy was the boss of Palm Springs. They took all the action. Frank was a big gambler, and one time he lost $500,000 in one weekend. He couldn't tell his wife about it, so he was late in paying. So I met him with Jimmy. He said, "Give me a few days." And he got the money. Guess who gave him the money? Dean Martin. Dean was very smart with his money. Made a lot of money, Dean. So did Frank, obviously. Frank was a nice guy. He was an amazing individual. Everybody knows he was one of the greatest singers ever on this earth, at least in my era. And I get my son's car, and my son says, Siri, play Frank Sinatra music. My son does that all the time for me. All right. And he knows all that technology stuff. And Frank comes on the radio. I love it. I used to meet Frank at Mateo's restaurant and Westwood Boulevard in Westwood. Sunday night was the night to go there. Frank put the money in to help Maddie start that restaurant. Frank actually owned half of it. And then it's just the kind of guy Frank is. One day he just told Maddie, you own it all. And he gave all the stock to Maddie for nothing. Okay? Didn't want his money back. It's how we did things in those days, folks. Okay? You came to me, you need a few grand. Sure, here. Okay? It's how we did things. Today, people don't do that. They don't help each other out. Everybody wants to con people out of something. It's terrible. But no, Frank was a gentleman. One night we're walking out of the restaurant. Now Frank couldn't smoke around his wife, so I sat on the smoking side back in those days. He was on the other side, and then when he come out, he and I would meet at the bar, and we would sit there and smoke and have a drink. And but one night we left there, and we're at the valet waiting for our car, and the valet brings Frank's car, and Frank had $100 that he was going to tip the guy. And he told the young man, he says, "What's the biggest tip you ever got?" And the guy says, $100, sir. But Frank goes back in his pocket and takes out another 100. And he gives the guy 200. And then he says, "By the way, kid," he says, "who gave you the 100? You did, sir."
You're getting asked if you've heard of Clive Davis. Clive Davis.
I met Clive Davis, okay, when he was showcasing Alicia Keys. I think it was at the Rainbow on Sunset Boulevard here. That was a long time ago. And I'm going to tell you, I'm so tone deaf, you wouldn't believe it. And he was showcasing, she wasn't big. And I made a remark to somebody. I said, I think this is going to be Clyde's first failure. Oh, boy, was I wrong, huh?
Getting asked about Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole. Oh, I used to listen to him at San Francisco at the Fairmont Hotel. Yeah, he was amazing. Yeah.
What
We
about
had
Woody Sorry, keep going, keep
Woody
going.
Harrelson's dead. No, I didn't know him. No, he's doing
What,
life in prison.
what were you going to say about Nat King Cole? Sorry.
No, I wasn't going to say nothing, but I didn't really know him. I used to listen to him. I met him, but that's about it. I met a lot of people, but could I say I know them? Huh?
What about Jimmy Hoffa?
Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa. I can tell you this: Jimmy Hoffa was never put in a barrel and delivered in New York. Okay, not in a million years. I venture to say that Jimmy Hoffa, from when he was picked up at that restaurant, all right, died within 30 to 40 minutes afterwards, and that his body was put in an incinerator and burned, and they will never find him. And to back that up, there was a place with incinerators that happened to have a fire a few weeks afterwards in Detroit. Jimmy
Do you
Hoffa was just a guy that thought things. I
do you think Sammy Davis Jr. lost his eye in a car accident, or is the rumor true he made a wrong move and they took his eye?
no, he lost in a car accident. Okay, just like they say. There's so many conspiracies. All right. All right. And did I ever meet Elvis Presley personally? No, I did not. Uh, but back in the days when he was in Las Vegas at the International Hilton, I'll tell you a little story. I used to go to Stardust, and I was there with my wife, my cousin, and his wife. And me and my cousin were gambling. We had reservations to see Elvis. And me and my cousin were already dressed, and the girls come out, they're dressed. They said, "We're all ready." I said, "All right, you got a lot of time. You girls go over there, we'll meet you at the Hilton, all right?" So me and my cousin, we get done, we go meet them. There's a long, long line waiting to go in to see Elvis. And there's my wife, Antoinette, and my cousin's wife. His name happened to be her name was Antoinette also. And they're at the end of the line. And I go, "What are you doing back here? You don't have to wait in line. Come with me." So they come, we all go, we get to the door. "Mr. Spado, how are you? We have your table ready." Right there in front of the stage. Could have touched Elvis. We didn't, of course, but I'm going to tell you, he was awesome. I did get to meet his wife, and I was good friends with his left hand man, Joe Esposito. All right, who we met. Joe was originally from Chicago. They met when Elvis was in the army. He was Elvis's, I said left hand, he was his right hand man. Okay, and he's the one who found Elvis dead in Memphis at Elvis's home.
Chantel, what was the best decade of your life and why? Best time of your life.
The best decade of my life. Yeah. I got to tell you something. I would not give up for anything. My younger years, growing up in a small town of Rome, New York, with my mom and dad, those were great times. Uh, my time in the military, I try to look at life as though my life is a good life. I lived a different life than most people. I've been involved in a lot of different things. I've had very legitimate businesses where I made millions of dollars. I lost it all. Okay. But, I'm 80 years old.